MANORLORD has come out with perhaps its biggest developer blog to date. Yes, you can read this right. MANORLORD's tester applications are officially open. This video is sponsored by Idle Siege. Released in January of 2022, Idle Siege has already gained over 1 million downloads, being the incredibly new strategy game that it is. Build up your forces, upgrade your military and go to war. Tactically arrange your troops you are using for combat and come up with the perfect plan of attack before sending your men in for the ultimate strategy experience. The game lets you play real and fictitious characters from history like Napoleon to Genghis Khan, with memorable in-game events and unique art styles throughout. Try the game out for free using the link in the description below and get Genghis Khan into your deck as a gift, 30,000 scrolls for upgrades and 120 gems. So, just look below, download, and once reaching level 4, you can gain all your special treats. Thank you once again to Idle Siege for sponsoring this video. So much has changed in the last year and a half. There was actually suspected to be a launch last year, but it has now officially been delayed. The reasons for that aren't going into many specifics, but Slavic Magic, the lead developer, talking about basically just wanting it to be right before anything ever comes out. However, as mentioned, there is the possibility for people to now start playing in early tester phases. The new updates and screenshots that we've got of more of the residential areas within the game look another level of beautiful. It talks about at the moment when you place down a house and you can put up a residential plot, it is done by placing 4 points. The edges then conform to the surrounding roads, creating more organic shape. Of course, there's still room for backyard extensions, putting in vegetable gardens, goat sheds, and chicken coops. I suspect this is something rather similar to what we've seen in a game like Ostriv. When you're planting down your areas for farms or fences, you have certain points that you can position, then the structures will conform themselves. The game has also changed its core mechanics somewhat as well, moving from a more RTS based game to a much more personalized and village/economy style title. But this is where it gets even more exciting. When it comes to actual individual figures and the people that will be within your town, the modeling has come to another level. They've actually got involved one of the modelers that worked on the characters for Kingdom Come Deliverance. Is almost the perfect translation. It seems like we're really going to be getting a medieval dynasty/Kingdom Come Deliverance mixed with an RTS here, and if that's what MANORLORD is going for, they're definitely going in the correct direction. Of course, this also includes the customization of the face and hairstyles. These will be somewhat randomized to give a more realistic feel. You're not going to get your old Total War style of people that look exactly the same. I mean, even in newer Total Wars, they still kind of look exactly the same as each other. There's been a big rework and overhaul in terms of trying to make it more historically accurate. Things like the retinue, which will be the most elite troops on the battlefield, will be few and far between, but will have a lot in terms of variation. Initially, they were all painted pretty similar with your crest on it, but now, as we can see, it gives a much more realistic feel to everything that we can expect within the game and how people will look and how people realistically did look at the time. They weren't marching in complete formation. They weren't all wearing exactly the same stuff. They had what they were given or what they could afford, and that's definitely what we're going to be seeing within MANORLORD itself. The combat has had a complete rework using mocap and, of course, being manually altered as well. Yet a lot of this we saw back in 2021 when we got that combat trailer showing off everything there. As far as I know, most of the stuff in here is still within the game. There have been improvements to things like animation, troop variation, and the overall look at it, but the main mechanics and what the aim is for with the combat within MANORLORD is still kind of similar. But remember, this is not necessarily a Total War killer. That's not what Slavic Magic is going for here. It's more going for the city builder/economy simulation with the addition of RTS battles. Yet saying that, it doesn't look like they're skimping out on anything in terms of realism, of course, morale, unit fatigue, animations, orders that can be given, and of course the variations of how units display and carry out the orders that they are given. Now, whilst we know that there are some testers and alpha phases coming out pretty soon, there has been some testing and demos on in the past in a more private sense on the Discord. Therefore, there has been some feedback in what's happened. One of the major feedbacks for the farming system was it was too repetitive and micro heavy. What they had was a 3-element system: an ox farm for ploughing, a field for sowing and harvesting, and a barn for transporting and storing wheat. Unfortunately, that of course meant it was way too micro heavy. A lot of moving things around and making sure everything's working as needed to. Now there is a more central building that can be used and that will just automatically be used for farming. There is a completely new and overhauled trade system within the game as well. We can see the trade screens here, and they look incredibly beautifully designed. There are some also really cool additions that remind me of a game like Cities Skyline in terms of the detail and authenticity. For example, here we can see the actual natural water veins that are underground, where you're going to get the most amount of water from putting your wells. And of course, this is going to change to what region you're in and where you settle with your town and where your people reside. Apparently during early testing, players did not like that every single building had to be upgraded to the maximum. So within MANORLORD, there is a wealth propagation system. A good is sold onto the market, and this wealth propagates outwards to the nearby homes. You can only upgrade the buildings that have enough wealth stored. To boost the organic look of the town, eroded path systems were added. We actually saw this a while ago in some screenshots that were revealed earlier in the past. However, this is also a detail that a game like Ostriv once again adds in, and it's really nice for growing your town. As time goes on, you see how the people use the right paths, and of course they will make the most efficient ways to each resource, and that is eroded throughout the town, slowly building up and looking like a living and breathing settlement. But once again, the loyalty of your region is incredibly important, and if it drops below -100, you lose control over it. Then rebellions will start to take place. Part of your population would split and form a band of brigands. Those brigands would loot your town, burn some buildings, and eventually, after they've collected enough loot, leave. So it's pretty clear that a lot was added in the latest MANORLORD's development update. There's so much being worked on, and despite all the fixes and bugs, a lot of content as well. But there's also some stuff and a look behind the scenes. It was announced that MANORLORD had actually received an Epic Mega Grant, which of course is money given to them by Epic Games, but it is confirmed that there were no strings attached to this financial boost, which means don't you worry, this will not be an Epic Games Store exclusive, which I guess is advantageous to everyone, right? NVIDIA DLSS will be within the game, so if you have a card that can utilize it, you'll be getting beautiful graphics but with great frame rates. But this is what you've all been waiting for, the closed alpha applications. Now, what I would say before I go into this is not for people that just want to play MANORLORDS early. That's not what this is for. You need to have a lot of knowledge about the games, you need to be very passionate about it, and of course, you need to have time to actually play the game. You really need to be able to give feedback and give good, constructive criticism to the development of the title. The whole point of a closed alpha isn't just to mess about with MANORLORDS. It is to really get into the nitty-gritty and talk about what works for the game, what doesn't, and how it can be improved for, well, a final release. It was initially stated that MANORLORDS would be coming out in 2022. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be happening. They did add a little bit to the end. I really appreciate all your patience, and I hope you now better understand why it takes longer than expected. I didn't have to rework all this stuff, but I wanted to, and I took the risk. I think all the major reworks are behind me, but first I wanted to hear feedback from more testers before I make the early access public, and there are still some buildings left to redo and the AI to improve. Whilst the 2022 release date doesn't look definite at this point, it doesn't sound like that it's so completely in the distance that it's not worth thinking about at this point from that statement. But of course, if you do want to go and sign up for the early alpha testing application, you can do that on the MANORLORDS Discord. There'll be a link in the description if you want to go and do that, but I am not affiliated with the game in any way or any time. I'm just very much looking forward to it. MANORLORDS has come a long way, and I think this is actually the first developer blog where we actually get to see the nitty-gritty behind the scenes details of everything that's been going on with the development of the title. There is more that I haven't even discussed within this video, and whether I'll make a follow-up on that or just go and check it out with the link in the description to find the full developer update. But please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. But until then, I will see you in the next one.